I'm hitting all the wrong buttons. Welcome back. I am your caster, Bahamut, this evening. I meant I changed up some stuff on my stream deck, and I'm getting a little bit adjusted to it, so I apologize for that. But we are in some chair league. I believe this is Division 3. This is the playoffs for just the end of the first season for how they, the new way they've split up the season. Looks like we're gonna have a ban out of from the Lords of. Excuse me, I'm so far behind. The Lords of Exodar are on our right hand side, and Air Muradin are on our left. I think we're just gonna go with Lords and probably like Air Muradin. I think we can manage. Air Muradin here though, going in for this first ban. Battlefield of Eternity, like it's you've got options because of the fact that like you can go ahead and just get rid of some of the damage that you can do to the immortals. So like taking out like the Lunara, Greymane, Vala, and Malthea, like those are some things that people tend to prioritize on this map because of the fact that you can burn down the immortals quite quickly with those heroes. So we tend to see a priority on those in the draft and ban phase, and it looks like that's exactly what they're going to be doing. They're going to go ahead and ban out that Malthea. And that's a strong first ban. I mean, if you don't want to deal with it, that's good. It does leave the Garrosh open, which I believe on this map is extremely, extremely good. I just looked over at my, just checking my own stream, and I just watching myself muddle through all the different scenes that I have. But either way, I don't know. Garrosh is pretty powerful here, and I really like him as a pickup. I think a comp can do really well with him. The displacement that he has is pretty powerful. He does have some self-sustain. He has just the redistribution in a fight, which is really powerful. And just overall, like he's just a good hero. On top of that, you also have the ETC. I really like either of those pickups here, and not as a first for the ETC or anything. It's just they're both very viable, and putting that in your bank is kind of strong to have, especially because the one thing I also want to do mention, Diva, Uther, and Jaina are banned. I believe there is a bug. Okay, they're going to go for the Rhaegar first. So they're just going to go ahead. Maybe they have a comfort pick on the Rhaegar, so they're going to go and say, Lords are like, all right, we're going to go ahead and get our comfort healer pick, and then we can maybe just flex a little bit more there. And that's fine. Like, the only thing is, if we get into game 2 and they ban that out right away, might be a problem. Either way, we are going into this 1-2 pick on the side of Air Muradin. See, typically here I would say, oh, Uther's open, so you go for it, but you can't. Locking in their tank and their damage dealer is an option, or healer and damage dealer. So they could honestly do Ariel Vala. That does give them a lot more sustain throughout these fights. Like they don't have to leave and tap. She doesn't need to tap well, but they're gonna go ahead and get the Sonya and the Vala. So they're gonna get their solo laner as well as their immortal burner, and potentially even hyper carry. We do often see compositions build around a solo Vala. Or even a solo Greymane. So the only thing I'm not sure about solo Lunara, I don't know if I've seen it. I believe it would be possible, but either way, I really like the pickup here on the side of our Air Muradin's really good. Now, Lords, what are you going to be going into before we go into our next ban phase? Seems quieter than usual. It always seems quieter than usual. Everyone always says that. Literally can't adjust a single thing because everything's pretty much not changed. I don't know. I have everything. I double-checked everything before I started. I don't believe... Unless you're talking about in-game volume, I did turn that down a little bit. So we are going to go see the Greymane here. And the Artanis. Okay, so they're going to go ahead and pick up the Artanis for the blind at 10, as well as the fact that he is pretty good on these immortal fights. The swap displacement is going to be a powerful asset to have for the team as well. And he solo lanes up against that Sonya pretty well too, so they're not going to need to worry about that top lane too much. what I'm curious. Looking at the composition, it's becomes a little bit hard to ban. I guess they are going to go with a secondary tank. I don't think you're going to solo with the Artanis. So the Anub'arak ban here is pretty good. That might, though, signal them going into a Li Ming. It's not definite, but you don't really want to have that Nubarian armor blocking some of the Li Ming damage on top of the art. Like, and we also do often see a Li Ming being played on this map. The poke damage that she can put onto the Immortal is pretty powerful. In a situation where you do need that long range poke and you can't really get to that aggressive side Immortal or something. But we'll see. Now on the side of Lords, I think banning out either a main tank or a major healer in this situation would be probably best. I personally lean a little bit on the Ariel here because the combination works very well together, and there is that synergy between the two heroes and probably players, I would assume, because if you probably have practiced that on this map, and that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to go ahead and get rid of that Ariel. And even then, like, there was still, like, technically a possibility. Well, I was going to say Cho'Gall, but no, it won't work at all. Because I was just looking over. I was like, well, no, you have the Greymane, and then the Rhaegar's not even there either, so it's... Because typically you'd pick up the Rhaegar so you can counteract the Cursed Bullet. They're actually going to go for the Arthas, so he'll be the main tank for the team. And then picking up a healer would be best, but they're actually going to go ahead and get the Tyrande. Okay. All right. It's interesting, the the development of Tyrande after her rework. Yeah, no, there is a little bit of a I was leaning back a little bit. I have it set so that it's like right next to my mouth, but thanks for looking out. I appreciate that. It's just all right. I'm just thinking to the Tyrande, like, what else are you going to go with that? Because you're obviously going into another healer, so you're going to hyper carry on that Vala, and that makes me start to wonder if they're not going to... So they're not going to solo tank with the Artanis, which means that you should be going into a Joanna at this position, because it just... I don't see a world where they're going to run a solo Tyrande as their healer, and then they're going to pick up a mage with that. So, yep, there it is. I really like the Kael'thas. The Kael'thas, he does do a lot of good poke damage. The AoE that he has, and if people are stacking up on underneath the Immortal, he can get a lot of valuable damage out. Yeah, I kind of feel like their composition's getting countered a little bit here. The Joanna, like, it's not like, oh, they picked up Joanna, it's a loss or anything, but the other factor, too, you have to consider is you've got the Artanis, too, and he has the blind at 10, and then the upgrade at 20 if he so chooses, for the secondary blind. It really neuters the composition. I guess it works in the same sense up against the Greymane and the rest of their team, but it's a Lili. And this is going to be very interesting. This is game number 1. We are going into Battlefield of Eternity. Air Muradin versus Lords of the Exodar. Exodar? No, Exodar. All right. And on the left-hand side, we have Air Muradins with Fish Kebab on Sonya, Deus Ex on Lili, Dirty Dan on Vala, Jistin Butt, Arthas, and Nemler maybe on Tyrande. On the right-hand side, we have Lords of Exodar with Hargan on Kael'thas, Matt Cawthon on Artanis, Mega Zergling on Joanna, Saga Food on Greymane, and Dusty Boris on Rhaegar. I do like the portrait synergy though. All right, so I believe I got the update for the... Yes, okay. I finally updated my Aliob, so it's the correct version. Now we're actually going to see who killed who, because on Tuesday when I was streaming, anytime someone got killed on the left-hand side, they were basically just coming up like... It would be like, Sonya killed, and just a big white box. So... Oh, that, by the way, I just looked over at Twitch chat. That Stukov, I agree with you. But either way, we'll see. Here we go into our first game between these two teams in this best of 3. Alrighty, so in the bottom lane, we do have the 4-man, as we were saying, and then in the top, we are going to have the Sonya and the Artanis. As we were talking about in draft, it's definitely, this is a typical thing that we see on this map, where you have the solo laners in the top, and then you have this 4-man in the bottom lane, and they pretty much just go in a matchup, playing safe and just really trying to get a kill on each other, as well as putting out some of their best sprays. The one thing I do want to note is that Kael'thas actually didn't go into the Mana Addict or the Convection stacks, and we actually have a drop right off the bat. I don't know if they're going to pause here. Nope. All right. I just heard him say welcome back, but what we will do is we'll just jump to this screen really quick, because I don't want to show any positioning on the map or anything. Like, it's early game, but it's at least just, this is my way of making sure that every game is fair. Make sure I also hover my finger over the correct button. Just seeing the chat, it's like, he's here-ish. But we could talk about some of these first level talents. Okay. They're just discussing the fact of if this guy DCs again. All right, we are going back into this game. It's just pretty much just let him go if it happens. But one of the things I want to note here is that the Lily is actually going... She's going to be taking the full blind build here, so she's not going to be doing any sort of extra healing. And she's not going into any of those extra healing talents. And we do have the Arthas taking quite a bit of damage here. He does get the frost shot off on... Not the frost shot, excuse me. His... I don't know the actual name of the talent, excuse me. But he does get the root onto 2 of the members there, and later in the game that might become a deadly... Oh, and I don't think the Johanna had her Iron Skin there, so that will be the first kill going over to Air Muradin. Now, in this top lane, we're just going to peek over there really quickly. We do have the Sonya pushing in quite hard. The swap does go out from the Artanis. She is getting swapped straight into the gates. Now, she is going to be taken down to about half health, but she will be able to get away. At this point, though, we do have the bottom lane getting pushed in quite a bit. The Rhaegar is going to go back and get full on mana. We do have another DC from one of the players. I don't know. Can I check servers? We're on Central. Okay, that was the one thing I was curious. It was like, usually if it's anything besides Central, we have some problems. But no, we're good. But it looks like we're going to have a little bit of a race here. Sonya is just going to kind of posture a little bit just to get the vision here. But... currently being won over on the side of Air Muradin, that Vala proving to be the damage dealer death that they need for this. And it looks like they're just going to try and burn down the shields as best possible. The Johanna does go in here. She does get rooted. She might have the Iron Skin. She does pop it. Does get her out. And it looks like she's just kind of slowing it down just to make sure that they get rid of a little bit more of that shielding. We are going to be paying attention to this bottom lane. Now, we do have the solo laners going back up into top. So that will be just kind of where they're going to be hovering. Now, we do have 4s also on the side of Air Muradin's. And so that is technically a little bit more of an advantage than the other team. Vala is still going to be going into those Hungering Arrow talents throughout this game. Doesn't look like we're seeing a huge stun actually from the Tyrande. But a few of the members just... kind of poking from a distance here. They're not going to be able to get too much here. Maybe the well, but I don't think they're going to confirm the fort. Actually, they do get the root onto 2 of the members. The Johanna actually ends up getting stunned here. They get the kill onto her. Rhaegar getting slowed as well, and this is probably going... Nope, excuse me. They did lose the Immortal at that point, so they're going to have to back off. So they're going to go ahead at this point and get this camp. They're going to start just pushing up these waves. This is pretty much the safe thing to do in between these Immortals. Now, we did have the Immortal, I believe, dying at like 3 minutes 15. And so that would mean that at I think it's about exactly 5 minutes. We should have the next mortal phase. By the way, we have a swap out from the Artanis. The Greymane was hiding in the bush there trying to get a little bit of a dive onto the Sonya, but she will just spin away without a problem. But that's the one thing I wanted to note is you can actually start to time out these siege camps in the mid here within, like, you just know exactly when, like, the time mark to start rotating over to that direction is. Because they have about 50 seconds to the next one, but Arthas is getting extremely low here. There is no heal to keep him alive, and he will be falling. We do have this lane starting to get pushed back a little bit, but there is this camp that is going to be slowing them down quite a bit on the side of Lords of Exodar. In the top lane, though, we do have the Sonya posturing very aggressively. There could be a potential rotation onto her, but looks like they're going to go ahead and start to work down this camp on the right-hand side and on the left here. So trying to time this out as best they can. We should see it in the next 20 seconds. The Immortals should be ready to come and battle. Now in the bottom lane, we do have that camp being timed out, and it looks like they're actually... Okay, I was wondering, I thought they were holding it for a second, but they're going to go ahead and get it pretty much exactly right as the Immortal pops. Now, this top one, it might get cleared out a little quickly. Artanis is up here, but there are no cannon shots to keep the Sonya back, so this is going to be a little bit difficult for the Artanis to kind of defend against. Meanwhile, though, this Immortal positioning is currently favoring both teams. Gives time for the Artanis to rotate into the team, and it also gives time for the Sonya to clear top lane. But since that Artanis is not there, the swap actually does not... Since the Sonya is not there, they start to go in. The swap did not connect, though. We do have a Greymane diving in on the Arthas here. There is the stun onto the Joanna, who does use her Iron Skin, backing off into a few of the members of her team, but they are starting to chase down this Arthas. They're trying to avoid the stuns from the Immortal. The Artanis does go out, trying to get a dash swap there. Does not connect. The Lunar Flare does connect onto the Artanis. There is a swap onto the Arthas, and he will be dying here. Joanna is getting a little bit low. There's a little bit of poke from the Vala. They're going to have to back up here and play safe. And this is the point when I was talking about, this is the reason why I was thinking maybe Li Ming at some point. Because when you're in this, when the positioning is such like this, where you really can't go in too deep, but you want to get the poke damage, this is where she can stand in this middle position, get defended by her tanks. And if anyone tries to dive on her, they just counter kill, or, you know, they just dive right back onto them. So it's just an interesting part of the draft that I was not expecting actually to see that Greymane just get melted there. The Sonya connecting with the Ancient Spear, and that poison upgrade at level 7 was just extremely powerful for her. And we do have this Joanna trying to delay this as best as possible, but she ends up getting killed. Now we do have the Artanis here getting body blocked by the Arthas, and they will be able to make sure that they get that kill as well. Yelthas trying to put out as much damage as possible. Now the Immortals are going to be doing their swap phase here. And Muradin, they are on the cusp of their 10s. About a level difference right now. And they only need a level till the next one. And you can already see the power of this composition. So, just really quickly, the Tyrande. Howling Blast, thank you. The Tyrande I find really interesting because of the fact that the mark that they can put on the Immortal just helps the burn so much, and pairing that into the Vala is extremely powerful. The Sonya, their composition on the side of Muradin, like I was poo-pooing it a little bit, but I mean, it's something that they're well versed in, and they've played it before. And that swap just barely missing the Lili or Arthas right there. Artanis will dive in, trying to get a little bit of damage onto a few of these members. They do have the Joanna going in as well, pulling a couple of them back towards the team, but unfortunately they can't get onto any of these members. The Immortal now just in melee range, but the Howling Blast will connect onto the Artanis, but he ends up dying, unfortunately. And this is going to be a pretty powerful Immortal still marching onto a keep. There's potential for a keep to be falling, just depending on how these kills go. There is leap chosen by the... So, oh my god. I'm just waiting for it. Where is the leap? We actually have the jugs coming out from the Lili, so that's going to be the healing that they're going to need for these fights. The Sonya jumps in onto the Joanna. They just blew her up, and oh my god. But that was a really, really strong push here. Now, they didn't get the keep. They did get the keep gate, so this is going to be a really powerful lane for them as the game progresses. And it looks like we're going to go into a quick pause here while someone just catches up on their internet. just really quickly, I want to update something. Oh, looks like some of the teammates were locked out of their apartment or something, so they were using a sub for this. I don't know, but it's interesting. Okay, cool. So the sub goal updated, or the follower goal. There we go. All right, though, we can look at some of these talents. I do believe the asset is small enough where it doesn't really show the map. I don't want to show the map. It shows a little bit of it, so that's. I just want to be as fair as possible, but I can at least just allude to some of the numbers here. The Sonya siege damage is just out of this world. 50,000 compared to the Kael'thas at 30,000 roughly. So it's these teams. I mean, it's the playoffs, and they're doing phenomenal jobs playing up against each other. I can't believe that. I didn't see how well this is going to synergize together. The Lili, I think I was just a little bit maybe too rude to. But the Tyrande getting the mark onto the Immortal and then having that Vala just bursting it down, it's just doing so much. While I'm actually here, just take a sip of water finally, because we have a little bit of a break. But at this point in the game, we do have 10s for both teams. So what we can do is we can just talk about some of the choice pickups here. We actually have the Artanis still holding his. I mean, they did just get them. The Kael'thas looks okay. So it looks like we're actually going to be going back into this. And here we are. Okay, so with that brief pause, we are back into the game. Now, we do have this camp in the top lane getting picked up, and this is what I was just about to say before we got into the pause. This top lane is the one that they really want to put pressure as much as possible. Wow. Because of the fact that it is currently their win condition, if they do get some sort of team wipe, there's the possibility to rush that lane. Or at least, go for the keep, because the moment you can get catapult pressure, like that's the most beneficial thing you can do for your team. And so creating that top lane pressure, as we can see, because they're already going to go ahead and rotate here. And I wasn't paying attention to the Immortal timer, I apologize. So I'm assuming, though, it has to be quite close, unless they're just getting this to avoid fighting against Muradin, because I think that, honestly, is the situation. I think that they're just kind of picking up the camp and playing safe and rotating together. Tyrande is going to go ahead and rotate into this top lane and scout a couple things out for the team, as well as just kind of maybe position. Okay, no, I thought she was going to go ahead and thought the rest of the team was going to be rotating up into them, but it looks like it's not. Like, everyone's just playing extremely safe at this point. The Immortals are going to be popping at this point in 10 seconds, so they're going to be picking up this camp that will be pushing to the bottom. It does still have quite a bit on the... it has all its cannon shots on the gate. But we'll see, because this uncontested can do quite a bit of damage, and 13s are extremely close on the side of Muradin. So, we'll have to play extremely safe here. The Curse Bolt going out, though. We do actually have the Lili dying right away. The blind going out from the Artanis will actually... They're going to be focusing down this Arthas here. They will not be able to get the kill because the army of the undead was used to keep him alive. But we do see this Joanna being able to use her unstoppable. She ends up getting killed, and unfortunately the Ancestral does not connect. It ends up hitting the Greymane, who is almost full. Now, we only have the Lili dead, so the burn factor on the side of Muradin is still there, and there's literally like 1,106 difference right now on the health, and I wonder if they're just going to go ahead and try for the burn. And that's what it looks like. So we're going to try and just see both of these, and currently looks like that with that damage mark, I mean, we can already see that the health, it drops quite quickly. Now, Joanna did also go back to go ahead and clear that, that top, or that bottom lane. Now, the root does connect onto the Artanis here. He does get the blind out. It does hit almost every member of the team. There is the cleanse. He does get the dash, but unfortunately he is killed. And this is not the situation you want to be in on the side of Lords of Exodar. Exodar. I keep swapping the two letters. But this is... There's a little bit of shielding on this Immortal, so that just means that it's going to attack from from range until that shield is gone. So that is extremely beneficial on the side of Muradin. Now, if you have the Joanna, she is quite far out. She does use the Unstoppable, but at the same time, the cup of 1,000 jugs, or jug of 1,000 cups. I have it backwards. I apologize. We have the Sonya jumping in here. We do have the Lunar Flare going out, and that will confirm the kill onto the Greyman. That's their major damage dealer dying, and we actually get the spin kill from the Immortal onto the Artanis. A couple members chasing back the healer and the tank, and it looks like they're going to go ahead and confirm the first keep of this game. Potentially going to be marching onto the core if they get this Joanna kill, and they do get it with that extra stun on the end there. If she had the Iron Skin, it wouldn't have been triggered because unfortunately she was just stun locked. And it looks like they're just going to let this Immortal go into the keep, or into the core, and they're going to back off and start to pressure some of the other lanes. Now, I wonder, in my head, there's part of me who's just like, I think you might have been able to force that, but the other half of me says, you know, like, well, there are two members who were coming back up very closely. Most of your cooldowns were down, or cooldowns were up, or you didn't have your ultimate. And then a couple of the other people were, you know, like Vala's still a little bit low on mana, and I would expect her to try and at least maybe tap a well quite soon, because I believe there should be another engagement happening once they clear this minion wave. I mean, with the 3-level difference, they should really be kind of strutting, you know, flexing on the other team across this map, and we actually see that in this corridor here. Now we do get the double route from the Kael'thas, and unfortunately they just back right out of there. So they actually pull his ultimate out, and that is going to be a 50-second cooldown that he's just going to have to wait for. Now the bird does go out. They do get the vision onto Joanna. They do also proc her to use her Iron Skin, and they're going to have to just kind of start retreating away from this because the 16s are there on the side of Muradin, and Army of the Undead was actually used in this situation just to really, I guess, make sure that if they were going to get this, they were going to maybe even take a kill if they need to. But it looks like Army of the Undead will be ending here. And that's another 60 seconds till that's ready, so it's hard on the side for Lords of Exodar because they need to clear top lane. 2, they don't have their 16s yet, which is going to be, they really can't go into a fight. I mean, they can, it's just extremely risky, and you know, Muradin's, they're not too worried. They're going ahead and dedicating a couple people to a camp, and they're kind of taking their time on this. So they actually get the halfway mark already triggered, and that is going to be pretty much a fully shielded Immortal if they do end up getting this. Now, this is on the safe side for both teams, so this is kind of a little bit of a blessing on the side of Lords of Exodar. They go out for the Artanis swap, but it does not connect, and if that was on the Vala, they would have definitely gotten. This would have been a different situation, but we do have the Kael'thas hiding in the bush over here. Just waiting for them to kind of come out a little bit too far, maybe get a combo onto them, get that chain bomb to spread to a few people. Just for now, we're going to go ahead and pull away the menu just so we can see the entire battle. Now, we do have the Greymane they're just poking them back here, and the thing is, the longer they draw this out, they actually get the stun onto the Arthas. Does he actually get out? And the Cup of 1,000 Jugs will keep them alive. And they actually get the kill onto the Rhaegar. There is the spin onto the Artanis. And they still, by the way, there is catapults and a Merc Camp on core currently. Looks like they're going to go ahead and confirm that Joanna kill. And at this point, the Merc Camp was killed by the core. Oh, and it looks like the catapults were just about to reach it. But this is going to be a fully shielded Immortal at about 15-minute mark. So it's going to do a decent amount of damage. And we also have to factor in the fact that there's only level 14 on the side of Lords of Exodar, so they still need to kind of turtle up here and really work for those 16s. They will get their Joanna back in time for this Immortal to be kind of walking into the lane, so that will time out quite perfectly for them. Most of the ultimates will be ready on the side of Lords of Exodar, so this is kind of like their last defense, really. I mean, they're fighting under their keep. They kind of have a little bit of an advantage here. I mean, but the Immortal will be attacking from a distance. They can just focus down one of those backline members. The Curse Bolt does go out. There's a huge leap from the Sonya. They just stun so many of the members. The cups are out from the Lily, and they get the kill onto the Artanis right away. They are starting to chase down this Joanna. There is the Iron Skin already popped from her. Looks like that will be the keep also falling. They do get the slight slowdown on the Arthas here. Army of the Undead is used right away. They get the Howling Blast onto Rhaegar, and this combination that they keep running, the Howling Blast into the Lunar Flare from the Tyrande. They are just starting to blow these guys apart, and even if they all wipe here, the Immortal is still onto the course. So this is going to be the first game going over to Air Muradin. GG, well played. Oh, I did the wrong one. All right, we're going to go right here. My game just disappeared for a second. I apologize. All right. So while we set up the next lobby, and actually also while I go ahead and update the score, boop, 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 boop. Let me just double check that I wasn't casting the wrong team or anything. Okay. So currently I'm seeing some messages about they're asking for a short recess. How long? Okay. Okay. Let's take a look at just some of these numbers here. The Sonya overall, as I was saying, just the siege damage and the pushing that she was getting, she won that lane over in top against Artanis that entire time. And he got pushed in quite hard. So that's definitely something that they really... That was not the bane of their existence, but it was something that it was never ending because Sonya, I mean, technically doesn't need mana. So she can just stay in lane forever. Oh god, they're doing different time zones. So they want to do a 10-minute break and start back up at 9:15 Central or 9:50 Central. And that would be okay. Yeah, that'd be 7:50 for me. Oh. They're talking about all this and they're just like, our guys just got on. So, all right. We don't have to worry about this. We don't have to worry about this at all. It's not our problem. I'm just going to say next map. Let's keep the boat going. Or the train, I guess, would be a better analogy in this situation. But we can actually look into some of these. So the Vala went into that Hungering Arrow build. She ended up going to the Frost Shot at 16. So I personally really like this talent myself. I think it overall is quite... I think it's just a good addition into the late game for her kit. In either build that you can go into. I mean, there's arguments for all of them, but I personally, like, I can't play at the skill level where I can, like, make 3 consecutive shots against a hero to get, like, 5% of their health, I think, is the talent at 16. So I just go into Frost Shot because it's like, I know I can do the things that I need to do as Vala with that talent. Maybe one day when I'm talented enough to click on the same hero 3 times in a row, I'll pick up that talent. But the other factor that we need to consider here is the Tyrande in this. She was the enabler that this... Sorry, Beta just left the room just sneezing. You okay, bud? She just enabled this entire team. I mean, she comboed off of the Arthas Howling Blast so well. Because every time he landed one, there was just a follow-up stun. And even then, it worked in tandem because she would get a stun and then he could follow up with a Howling Blast on top of that. So that was just... The combination and the synergy that they had on this was very, very good. And it was just, you know... The other team was, I just also want to note, they were playing with subs too. So, like, we have to consider that factor. And one of them was DCing a bunch too. So, you know, we kind of have to put a little asterisk next to all this. This isn't the main team. So don't, you know, we can't judge them too hard here. But at the same time, like, both teams, they played a great game. It was a very, very well played game. There was a point where I honestly thought they were going to start turning the game around, but then just anytime that they got close to like potentially getting some sort of like momentum in their favor on the side of, I just realized that my chair league asset isn't there. On the side of Lords of Exodar, like anytime they got a little bit of momentum, it was always just somehow like just they stopped it very, very hard and very, very quickly. Because there was that one, I don't know, there was a kill at one point, and I was like, oh, I think they might actually get the next immortal, but unfortunately, it's just too many members got up way too quickly. But sorry, I am a little scatterbrained. I'm just trying to update the assets for Chair League, so it just there it is. Cool. So we are going to Infernal Shrines as our next map. We can go ahead and take away this so we can set up the next lobby. Okay. Alrighty. So Infernal Shrines, I mean, the compositions that we're going to see are, they're not going to be insanely different. And I just realized this is a different scene and I didn't have that there. There we go. And actually, just 1 second. And go ahead and actually kind of boop that up a little bit more. There we go. Because this one doesn't have anything in the center. So Infernal Shrines, I mean, we're going to see a priority probably on some of the mages here because of the fact that they do have the good clear inside of those skeletal against the skeletal defenders. We typically also see a lot of like Dahaka for the brushstock and solo laning, or even, you know, we see a lot of Sonya as well too. That's the one thing I forgot to do myself. Alrighty. We are getting into this game here and just setting up the lobby. But how's everyone doing tonight? I streamed yesterday like with a 10-second delay, and it's so having the delay for Chair League and then having the delay when I just do like a personal stream. Oh my god. I can actually interact with people on chat. Like I'm looking at chat and it's like we're like loading into the game and I look over and it's just like, that'd be a good pick. Yeah, I agree with that. Oh wait, no, we're already done with the drafting. Alright though. Looks like we are all set here. I'm going to let the teams know that I am ready. I do see one issue currently. It looks like one of the players does not have the same portrait, so we're going to have to fix that. But I hope you're enjoying the Chair League games. It's currently the playoffs right now, so we are starting to get into our playoff phase here, and I'm quite excited about this, honestly. This is shaping up to be a very, very interesting season. But here we go into Infernal Shrines. As someone who used to play Chair League, like to see where it is now and cast it from where it is now, it's become quite an amazing, just overall like amateur like scene. Like it's very, very just like anyone can do it, anyone can join. I mean, granted, yeah, they did do the whole pay to get in, but I honestly think that I don't think it's that much, but that's just me. I mean, it's Taco Bell one day, and I understand that it's Taco Bell one day, but I mean, it's just Taco Bell one day. You don't have to get it. But either way, we are going into this second game here. Air Muradin gonna have the first pick here, going into, or excuse me, the first pick, first ban, going into Infernal Shrines. Okay, so they're actually going to ban out the Kael'thuzad themselves. So it must mean that they don't have anyone who plays it. I mean, that's the only logical decision that I could kind of make from that. Because if you have first pick, you'd want to maybe ban out something you don't want to deal with. Like if you, I don't know, if you have some sort of double tank composition for this, like if you have like a Stitches Arthas kind of combination with a Malf, and then you do, a mage and a damage dealer, or like your range damager, or I don't know. I just don't like the Kael'thuzad ban. I think he's really powerful, and I think he would do very well on this map, especially in areas where people have to stack up like that. But either way, all I was just alluding to is that you can kind of trick your team into, you know, if you want specific things, you can ban out things that counteract your entire draft. Like, yeah, maybe if you ban out Greymane right away, like some people go, maybe Cho'Gall. But even then, you could just be doing respect ban. There is that thing as well. So there's a lot of factors that go into the draft, but it looks like we're just going to have the Kel'Thuzad and the Garrosh being banned out here. This first pick, though, I'm curious. One thing I do want to note once again, we do have the Diva, Jaina, and the Uther ban, and they're going to go ahead and actually pick up the Kael'thas first. So they're going to go ahead and prioritize that for the clear on the shrines. Other things that we typically see on this map run as a duo is the Ariel Gul'dan, and that is a pretty decent pickup in this 1-2 slot. Yeah, no, I think the Ariel Gul'dan isn't horrible. It sets your team up for a lot, and you really have a lot of options after going in after the next ban phase. So that's definitely something they maybe want to consider here. Trying to think of just like there's like so many combinations that you can just run it off the start here, and there's also there's a lot of presence of Stukov too, so you could go into like a Stukov also. But they're gonna go ahead and pick up the Greymane and the Anub'arak. So they're gonna go ahead and get the dive, the spell damage reduction. I like those first two picks; those are strong. Greymane does do very well on the shrines. The beetles from Anub'arak are quite useful, as well as just his big, buggy Zerg body. Well, it's Zerg now, but before we go into the next ban phase, though, we are going to be looking to pick up 2 more heroes on the side of Muradin. And I wonder if they... I talked a lot about it. Okay. Will this be a Malfurion, or are they just going to go into the Tyrande again? Because that combination was really strong. And it is, honestly, they could go into it. They could maybe pick up a Dahaka in the later half of the draft. Nope, they're going to go into Diablo. They're going to leave their healer slot open. Interesting. They just really wanted that Diablo. And I will say this, like, the Diablo in these fights, like, he does very well. I think he's extremely strong on this map. His overall just base kit is extremely good for the fights, mostly because of the fact that you do have the shadow charge into the tight corridors. You get the flip from that, and then in the later half of the game, you get the secondary shadow charge. On top of the fire stomp being there, that's just a good way of overall getting vision, 1, and 2, it's just a good AoE damage that goes out onto the skeletal defenders. Now, as I was saying, though, they did not lock in a healer, so at this point we are going to be seeing the priority of the ban on the Rhaegar. But I personally, unless they're going to be going into it, I would maybe ban the Stukov here. His upgrade at level 1 to the is the level 1 upgrade Lurking Arm. I don't play enough support to memorize it, but either way, the upgrade to the radius of the Lurking Arm, we'll just say that, is extremely good for this map because you can use it as a zoning tool. Keep members out of the skeletal defender little areas, especially in top lane too, due to the fact that there are only 3 entry points, unless you have a global or brushstroke or any of those kind of things. But I just don't think they want to go up against the Malthael. I mean, he works well on this map too. As I was talking about a lot of like good effects that Diablo has, Malthael has a lot of those as well himself. The ability to dive onto people to do the percentile damage, especially against 2 heavy health pool tanks. There's the Ariel Gul'dan that we had talked about at the beginning of the draft, and looks like they wanted to prioritize that Greymane and Ubrak first, which honestly, that's not a bad idea at all. I mean, if you think those are your stronger characters, go for it. Just want to make sure that I double check everything for this. Okay. Mouse, thank you. All right. These last two picks though for Air Muradin, they're gonna need a healer. So I honestly think it's a Stukov, and then I think maybe they could go into the. They could go into, and honestly, they could go into a Falstead. Man, I could not get those words out. No, they're gonna go Tyrande Malfurion. Okay. It's not like their combinations aren't bad at all. We're gonna know what the Tyrande Arthas are gonna be doing together. There is a lot of things that can go wrong if you get caught out by any of these members. And Lords of Exodar are gonna need to play this game extremely safe, because a Howling Blast can turn into an Overpower, into a Shadow Charge, into a Tyrande Lunar Flare, into a Malfurion Root. And then don't forget that Kael'thas is there too, who's just, you know, throwing little fireballs at you the entire time. That's a terrifying composition, honestly. Now, at the same time, I do want to note, Ariel can get you, like, can whip someone into the wall, and then you get, you know, the corruption stacks up from Gul'dan onto you, and the Nubrak's diving, and also getting the spines onto you, and you have Greymane diving onto you on top of that. So, like, it works both ways, but I'm more afraid of Air Muradin's composition. There's the Dahaka. I was wondering who was going to be picking it up. I talked about in the beginning that we do see a lot of prioritization on the Sonya or Dahaka, mostly because of the fact that they do solo lane very well. Typically, we see a lot of like what you saw in Battlefield of Eternity, but it's more of a situation where there's one top and you have 4 rotating between mid and bottom. We'll see if those rotations come out. But here we go into our second game of the evening on I almost said Battlefield of Eternity, Infernal Shrines. All right. And on the left, we have Air Muradin with Fish Kebab on Diablo, Jizenbutt on Arthas. I said it last time. Enmiller, I think, on Tyrande, Deus Ex on Kael'thas, Dirty Dan on Malfurion. On the right-hand side, we have Lords of Exodar with Rosen on Gul'dan, Saga Food on Greymane, Hargan on Anub'arak, Dunrick on Ariel, and Mega Zergling on Dahaka. Ooh. What region are we loading into? Gravity Lapse, thank you. I honestly... I avoid saying it because, like, I don't know why, but I keep calling it a whirlwind because, like, in my head I'm just like, it's a whirlwind and it comes and attacks you. But Gravity Lapse, thank you. I need to make, like, note cards and, like, study these. Because that's one of the hardest things is like memorizing all of the talents and all of the names and all the tooltips. I mean, like there's standardized picks, but then there's like things that just throw you off. And then just like that, I don't know. There's times when my brain's just like, you want to remember that talent? No, I don't feel like it. But here we go into our second game. This is exciting. Tier League playoffs. I believe this is Division 3, if I'm not mistaken. I can double check really quick. This is a Division 3, yes. We actually have the Kael'thas. I want to know. New follower detected. Well, thank you so much, Black Orpheus 85. But we do have convection stacks coming out from Kael'thas, so this is going to be interesting. We're going to want to make sure we keep an eye on those as the game progresses here. We do have the Tyrande Owl coming out just to get a little bit of vision. Will not connect onto any of the members of Lords of Exodus. They are posturing up into these bushes. We do have the Malfurion currently just kind of hiding in that mid to bottom area. And it looks like they're going to posture up as a 5-man currently. They're not going to really go into the Dahaka too much. They do get the stun from the Anubrek there. But it looks like this is just going to be kind of... Kael'thas is going to poke out, get a couple stacks here and there, and we're just going to see a rotation from the team. This is exactly what we were talking about. This, actually... Never mind? Oh, okay. That's... Malfurion went up to put the vision. Okay, for the rotations. Got you. I was like, why is Malfurion in top lane? But they do have the Kael'thas and Diablo, and that will be enough for them to just kind of fire stomp, and he can tank that frontline damage and be fine. You have him trying to go in for that extra kill on that last minion that's there and just overpowers one of the members. Just like, excuse me, my way, sir. Alrighty, though. We do have the Lunar Flare coming out from the Tyrande. Will not connect, and we just are having these current rotations coming out from a few of the members here. It's between bottom and mid, and they're just really waiting till this 140-second. There, I actually just looked up the clock. I was like, wait, the Immortal, there it is. There you go, 140 it starts, and then I think it's 130 every time it dies. So we'll try and keep an eye on that counter as the game progresses here. And it's actually going to be in the top, so this is going to be interesting how they're going to be going in. This is... Whenever I play this, I always get the most excited about the top engagement because of the fact that, I don't know, for me, this engagement always seems to go the best. We actually have the Diablo going in for a flank onto the Dahaka here, but it will be actually stunned out. He does have the burrow and enough essence, and he will be able to get out here. Kael'thas will be able to get an extra convection stack off of him as he's rotating away, and he is almost about halfway. So this is going to be the time for them to take this huge fight. Ariel gets the whip and gets the disengage from the Arthas. The root does follow up though. There's a huge root from the Malfurion. We do have the Diablo falling here, and I do not believe he had soul, so he's going to be full death timer. We do have the Anubrek falling here, actually spreading the chain bomb onto the Dahaka. And this is 1 for 1 here. We do actually get a root onto the Greymane, but unfortunately he is able to back out of there before the Lunar Flare follows up. Yeah, no, Scattering Drone threw me off a little bit too. We do not have a connection under that double root. Kael'thas actually falling extremely low on mana. We do, and this shrine isn't even halfway yet. So we do see a few of the members rotating back. The tongue does come out from the Dahaka onto the Diablo, but unfortunately he does get overpowered and thrown. And I don't think he has any essence this time. Ariel does have a lot of healing, and she does give it to her team right now. Arthas is getting extremely low. He is going to try and rotate back through the gate, and he is able to get there. And I don't think he has the well, so he's going to have to hearth with the Kael'thas. And this might be given over at this point. With the two members going back, and I believe the entire team in this top. Yeah, Dahaka coming up, and this is going to be extremely dangerous for Muradin. They do potentially get the Anubrek. He actually ends up falling. We have a DC from one of the members. Are we going to get a pause is the big question. Looks like he's rejoining the game right away, so not a problem at all. Now, this is only halfway on the side of Lords of Exodar, so they can potentially have this turned around on them. They actually end up having the Dahaka falling here, and so this is going to be turned over to them at this point. It looks like Lords of Exodar, they're going to wait for their Anubrek, obviously, but I'm curious to see, are they going to be going in on Muradin? Sevens aren't here yet, so it is a possibility. We do get the stun onto the Diablo. There's a counter root onto the Greymane. They're just locking him down. Gul'dan trying to get so much damage into that backline. They currently have the body blocking from the Anubrek. They will get the kill onto the Kael'thas. That will be his stacks currently falling. Now we do have a huge body block onto this Arthas, and he will be falling as well. Diablo so close to dying. The burrow goes out from the Anubrek, body blocking once again, and they end up getting 3 kills and turning this back around and taking the first Punisher. Whoo! And the other factor that I wanna mention here is that we have Dahaka currently in bottom lane soaking up, so that's gonna be sevens before they get to this gate, as we can see. Gul'dan is extremely close to finishing his Fell Flame talent. He should be able to finish it with this push. Go ahead and swap this out into the one where no one can see where people are on the map. So, because there's people who are on the map that I don't want to show where they are. But, Lords of the Exodar. Am I missing a T? I am missing the, not a T. I'm missing the. I'm just saying Lords of Exodar, aren't I? I don't know. I think maybe just because it sounds a little bit more intimidating. And I'm just like, you guys, you should be just a little bit more intimidating. And we're starting to see that. They get the first Punisher. They have sevens first. This is a different team than we saw in the first game. So, and obviously, you know, I want to reiterate once again, like they did have some subs for that first game. So, you know, there is an asterisk next to it. That's something we need to consider that, you know, now they are the full stack team and it's showing a little bit. The Dahaka play is quite good, honestly. I really like this from them. The level 4 Nether Wind increased the gravity lapse range by 30%, and then you get the 80 mana refund. I think is what the mana refund off the gravity lapse. I think is what they're going for here. I mean, if you're landing like you know, like over 75% of your gravity lapses, or you know, a high percentage, you know, that cooldown reduction, you don't really need to worry about mana as long as you're nailing it every single time. That's definitely something that. Okay, last game they had 2 subs and DC'd their main. Ouch, 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 ouch. Okay. Looks like one of the members is just restarting their computer. In this day and age of solid-state hard drives, I believe we should be coming back quite quickly. Ooh, evidently there's a Windows update. Yeah, that was... I think I had that last night and this morning I dealt with that. I mean, Windows update shouldn't be too long. I'm sorry, I'm reading like, I'm reading Twitch chat and I'm reading in-game chat and I'm just like, oh yeah, no, okay, all right. And then just, I apologize, but yeah, there was a Windows update. But the other factor too that I want to note, like Windows updates, they don't proc for every single person. I believe they distribute them in packages per region. I know, like for example, like the company my dad works for, he does information systems, and they have an entire new system that they're working for the global company that he works for, and they're releasing it in like he calls it quarters, but there's more, or not quarters. There's an industry term where they're just like they have different releases for it. So they did their entire Mexico plant. And they released it then, and they like saw how it worked, and then they released it to the next. So like they do that per region for the Windows updates too, because like I just got mine last night, and it finished this morning when I started up my computer and then did my initial reboot. So I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like I like the CDR and G Labs personally. No, I think I honestly, Black Orpheus, I see the CDR on the Gravity Lapse all the time, and I honestly think that it is probably the choice pick. Okay, so it looks like they are finishing up the... Oopsie. They are finishing up the update, and they should be getting into the game quite quickly here. We'll have to run and get more water after this matchup. But... So we can talk about some of these later game talent pickups based on just what they're going into here. For like a split second, I was like, what if he goes into Pyroblast? And then I was just like, but there's Crystal Aegis, and that's not going to happen. I don't know. KT Pyroblast games are just always kind of fun. But if there's if there's things there that just counteract it, it's not even worth it. All right. Getting closer for them to load into the game. And I apologize for the delay, everybody. We're trying to work through this as quickly as possible. And if you... Oh, network... Oh, net framework. Screwed up a bunch of stuff. Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. But we are approaching a point in the game where, like, Gul'dan is going to start exploding in power himself. He's got 38 out of his 40 Fellflame stacks, so that's going to be extremely powerful for him. There's just one thing I want to look into really quickly. Sorry, I just want to look up something for my obs really quick just to see if I can actually adjust this. How's everyone else doing though tonight? Slowly just getting into our second chair league game here. We got the first Punisher. Looks like we have. Just want to check something really quick. Okay, no, that's exactly how I wanted it. It just looked funky. Oh, we can go ahead and. Oh no, there's so many ways to stop Pyro. But it's just like one of those things, like it's if you can do it, to have that option and be able to do it, it's so much fun. Alright. Looks like we should be getting right back into this. Just waiting for the countdown. There it is. Right, so here we are back into this game. Punisher currently going up into the top lane. Arthas will be responding to the Dahaka in the bottom, it looks like. Definitely shown that he's there. Currently have the Diablo. We currently have the Gul'dan finishing his corruption or Fellflame stacks. Wow. But that will be the Dahaka getting that bottom lane camp, and also the Nubrak has already rotated into mid, making sure that he pushes up that wave as quickly as possible. Dahaka currently going to be able to push this up until the enemy responds to him. One thing I do want to note also, Kael'thas is only at 2 out of his convection stacks. He did die during that huge brawl we had before the last Punisher. And looks like they will be going ahead and picking up this camp on the right-hand side. Lords of the Exodar pushing up into this mid wave. Currently have the Dahaka still in that bottom lane. No one currently soaking top for either team. Maybe the Dahaka utilizing his burrow once he gets it, just pushing in this wave. Maybe just forcing rotation of the enemy team? It's a little far forward here. I'm a little worried. Currently the Gul'dan is in top up against the Arthas. This is an interesting way they've kind of swapped stuff around. Now I do believe the Punisher should be... The next altar should be spawning quite soon, honestly. 10s are close on the side of Lords of the Exodar, so that's something that they're going to need to worry about on the side of Muradin. Do have the Dahaka currently going up into the top lane. He's going to be able to push that back up against the Arthas. There is a camp timed out into that as well. That should be rotating into the lane quite soon as the Punisher is going to be starting. Now, I wouldn't be too surprised to see the same thing coming out from Muradin. It actually looks like Greymane trying to get a little bit of damage onto the Diablo there. And we are going to have looks like the Kael'thas and Tyrande going to go ahead and get that camp up in the top lane. Actually, are they maybe going to go on for a gank onto this Dahaka? No, does not look like that. Do we have a little bit of a skirmish down here? We actually have a 4v2. They definitely can go into this, especially with the fact that they do have the 10s currently. The web wrap could go out. There's a route on the Nubrak here, so that will be burned for the time being. That top camp is going to be arriving. It looks like they're going to be able to clear that and push up the top lane, so that will pull the Dahaka back a little bit here. Nubrak is going to be able to scout out this Malfear and hiding in the bush, and they are just going to try and poke realistically till they get their 10 so they can go and fight this fairly. Just some of the things. Oh, the web wrap actually going out from the Anubrak right away, but they do have their 10s here. We actually have the Starfall coming out from the Tyrande. It's an extremely good zoning tool that they can utilize here with the Phoenix from the Kael'thas as well. But he is going to need to work on stacking up those convection stacks a little bit faster, unfortunately. But they do have the Punisher currently assaulting. Well, it will be assaulting their mid gate quite soon. Looks like Diablo's posturing to kind of pull this over, and I'm hoping that they're going to pull it between these two towers over here. Typically, we see a lot of people who go right over to their well, and it's like, no, the Punisher will focus the well. Don't do that. But he will prioritize the gate first. Looks like they're getting a lot of value from the zoning tools that they have as their ultimates, but at the same time... Okay, so they burned all their ultimates. I was wondering, I was like, are they going to go in against the team? They actually get the double dismount from that bird. That was really, really good, the owl there. The Anubrak getting the double stun there, slowing them down here. Diablo is going to be able to charge in. I don't think he has a burrow. Oh, he does, but actually... Whoo! Kael'thas' chain bomb was spread to the majority of the team, but that Horrify was perfectly timed to save his teammate. Now, that is going to be quite a cooldown that they're going to have to wait through. Granted, though, there isn't going to be another Punisher for a while. And once again, Dahaka kind of getting free push here. They're forgetting about this top lane. The Arthas is going to have to rotate back up, but they will be foregoing this fort and top lane. Now, just because the last Immortal was mid and the first Immortal was top, I always say it backwards on these maps. I mean Punisher. This doesn't mean that the next one will be bottom. There's a probability that it could be, but it could also be top at the same time. It pretty much randomizes. I don't think there's any like realistic way to predict it. It just usually because I was listening to like a podcast once, and someone was talking about the fact that there is like some infinitesimal percentage where it could be the same altar twice. I believe there was a dev who was talking about that. But either way, we do have this burrow in from the Anubrak. The Curse Bolt does go out from the Greyman. Starfall out from onto a few of the members here. The Diablo falling extremely low, but they are zoning away this Greymane, who actually gets stunned in the wall and will be killed by the Arthas, and that is a very strong pick on the side of Muradin. Lords of the Exodar are going to need to back off here and be a little bit safer, and we actually do have the next shrine starting in top. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see Dahaka utilizing his global assets here to push up the bottom lane. No, it actually looks like they're going to go ahead and just rotate up straight into the altar area, or excuse me, the shrine. Oh. Do have a burrow in from the Anubrak. A lot of his team does have to rotate here still. They actually get the web wrap onto one of the members. There is the tongue, and that is a kill onto the Kael'thas. He will be losing his convection stacks. And we do have someone web wrap currently here. It's going to be the Arthas. He does not have Army of the Undead. That will be the kill onto him. That was the cursed bullet you heard, connecting and just shredding his health. And they will go ahead and start this next altar. Is this Cinder? Oh, I'm sorry. I completely... Sindragosa. I completely missed that. Like, I just expected Arm of the Undead. But no, Sindragosa was picked up. I can't believe I missed that. We actually have the Dahaka that rotated back into bottom lane. Just to make sure that he defends up against this bottom push. They are currently whittling away this gate, but at the same time... they have to rotate up into the top lane. This is a Frozen Punisher at about 11 minutes, so... It's powerful, and they have a lot to go through, and the team can rotate there in time. But I'm a little worried about this push. Dahaka, I believe, can come up at any point. His Brush Stalker should be ready. So this Punisher will be baited over the wall onto the Arthas. They are going to use the Phoenix for a little bit of a zoning tool here. Looks they're holding onto the Starfall. Citragosa is available at this point. They can utilize that if they want to go in on this chase. But it looks like they go ahead and they clear this out. I mean, the Punisher, it got a gate, but, you know, it wasn't a whole lot. Now, we do actually have... They were hiding in the bush on this. They drive on to... Oh, my God. The Apocalypse coming out with the Horrify there, as well as the Curse Bullet from the Greymane. Now, we do have the Starfall out from the Tyrande, hitting quite a few members of... Oh, my God, the Lords of the Exodar. Diablo getting stunned out here. There's a possibility of him dying, but he actually ends up getting away. The Greymane Cocktail just so close to getting the kills here. So many of the members are low. They are currently getting... Oh my god, the Shadow Charge through the wall from the Diablo. He will sacrifice himself. He does have souls, though, so he's right back up. And it looks like they were going to utilize that. You know, he sacrificed himself. He's already back up. He's rotating in for this next fight. That's going to be a full... It's going to be a full health tank. Now, they do give this up. Oh, no. Just Kael'thas. Goodbye, Convection Stacks. They go ahead and clear this camp before it really does anything in that top lane. And Air Muradin, they're getting a little pushed in this game up against Lords of the Exodar. Completely different games. As I was noting just between our little break there. A little bit of a friendly spin from the Diablo as we're just kind of having these lanes being pushed back. A lot of the team members they're just grabbing camps, really just waiting for the next Punisher phase and just kind of getting closer to 16s on the side of Air Muradin. They don't really want to take a fight here and they don't want to get caught out of position, but they do need to soak up their lanes as well as push them back. So they have to spread themselves a little bit thin, but you can see on the map a lot of them are playing by their gates. Toronto's a little far forward, but I think they have vision of most of the enemy team. Or, well, they had vision of most of the enemy team. Now at this point, they do not. We see the Kael'thas up there with her. But this will be the next alt shrine started here. Arthas is not here from the bottom lane. It looks like he will be soaking up that as best as he can, just trying to get 16s before they go in for this next engagement. Diablo getting the Shadow Charge onto one of the members there. They actually start to go in. The web rep does go out onto the Diablo. There is the Phoenix out from the Kael'thas, dealing decent amount of damage. They get silence from the Muradin, the double stun from the Tyrande. They actually get the kill onto the Anub'arak. Sindragosa does come out. It is slowing them so much that they can't get out of the Apocalypse. The Starfall goes down on top of that, and they are starting to shred some of these members, but the Diablo did fall there. I do want to note that. They actually get the Howling Blast onto the Dahaka. They get a root right underneath that, and that is exactly what I was talking about in draft. And oh my god, with 25 health, he's going to be able to get away this NASCAR Dahaka. Oh my god. 13 health, I think, was the lowest I saw it go. Wow. Woo! That was... that was quite crazy. I mean, I honestly expected Air Muradin not to win that. The web rep onto the Diablo I thought was going to be the thing that started to really pull the team apart, but realistically, they just turned around and were like, you know what, we'll just get him out, we'll fight you. And the Sindragosa Apocalypse combination was extremely powerful. Now, the one thing I do want to note, there has been this camp in bottom lane. It has been pushing this up. So that is something that we do need to note here. Now, Lords of the Exodar are coming back in here. They potentially could win this back over. They've got some decent poke. Now, they only need 3 on the side of Air Muradin. And it looks like Arthas will be going ahead and getting that. They're already just retreating behind their gate, making sure that they're not going to get caught out for too early of a jump from the Punisher. They just want to make sure that they spread out so that the Punisher hop doesn't hit too many of them. And this is getting later in the game, and a Mortar Punisher, it's not the strongest, but it's still a Punisher. Now, they do get the burrow away, so they don't take the unnecessary damage, but they do take out the sidewall here, start to go in, and they're baiting this over as far away from the enemy team as possible just so they can work it down. Looks like they will get the push back from the Ario. Jump actually is a little bit too early. They get the Apocalypse on top. Oh, Burrow just gets out in the last second, but the Sindragosa goes out. It actually knocks out the shots from the keep as well, so they can push up a little bit harder here. They get the mid lane for it, and the one thing I also want to note, that top lane has been just stacking up archers and minions, so this top lane is going to be something they need to clear as quickly as possible because they already have another one incoming. This could start to whittle down the keep quite a bit. Gul'dan is checking that camp to see if anyone was there. Anub'arak goes through the burrow just to start taking the damage, and they're going to play this extremely safe. How they're getting this camp, you can see the posturing from some of their squishier members are from, you know, the far side of that wall, making sure that they don't get caught. Diablo is going to go ahead and go into that top lane, and let's see, the last Punisher was mid. I don't think, have we had a bottom Punisher yet? I'm pretty sure we have. I think we've had a Punisher in every lane. I'm 90% sure of that. But we do have this camp being picked up in the top lane, and then it looks like Lords of the Exodar are going to go ahead and get this bottom camp pushing in as well, and it looks like we're going to have a little bit of an engagement in mid. before this next Punisher. We'll go ahead and pull that away. There is actually a charge in onto the Diablo. Does he have the burrow? He uses his Tongue Claws to get away. There is the Horrify from the Gul'dan just to make sure that he could get away there. And Phoenix was also used for the potential fight. So a couple ultimates used there, but not so bad. It's not too bad. I mean, a lot of clearing needs to happen on the side for Lords of the Exodar, and it looks like the lanes are getting pushed up quite a bit for Air Muradin here. So they're going to be in a decent spot when they're going to be going into this next Punisher phase. But at the same time, one thing we do need to note is Lords of the Exodar are extremely close to their 20s. There's about a level difference, and so if they can get this level advantage here in this bottom lane, this could potentially be a game-ending push. Now they do have the gate still full cannon shots on it. We're going to pull this away really quickly just in case there is an engagement. We'll see all this. We do have the Diablo going in for the Shadow Charge onto the Ariel, and they actually end up getting the flip, and it charges them towards the team. Unfortunately, they try and get a poke here, but they just completely disengage, and that's exactly what they wanted to do in that situation. They said, you know what, you're trying to fight us, but we're just going to fight you when we get 20s, because they're hoping that maybe they get one kill. And if they get that one kill, it snowballs, and then they can, you know, the 20s don't matter anymore. But unfortunately, that will not happen. Dahaka is going to be able to push up that top lane quite a bit. He does go for the Apex Predator. Okay, good. We'll be able to kind of just scoot around the map a little bit faster here. Now there is the Scepter goes out from the Arthas here. We do have the Anubrak falling extremely low. He will be dying. Apocalypse is out from the Diablo. Starfall is down on top of that, and that is going to be a huge Horrify. But unfortunately, some of the members ran towards where they were running away from, and that is going to be the death of the Greymane and the Ariel. Diablo is currently getting chased by this Dahaka. The root does go down underneath them. Kathos is in the bush hearthing. He tries to get a little bit of damage out, but unfortunately he does not. He has to hearth because that top lane is currently taking down a keep. That Dahaka just delayed enough, and that is... they'll be able to save it. And it looks like Dahaka will be just in this bush right now. Waiting for a potential gank, maybe? No. Okay. He'll go ahead and go into top lane, push this up a little bit further. Maybe go in on this Kael'thas. But at this point, they've pulled the Kael'thas away from the team, and this is kind of powerful on the side of Lords of the Exodar. Now, granted, they do have 3 down. They're going to lose this fort. And it looks like actually Kael'thas is just going to come straight back to the team. They have 20s on both sides, but Dahaka does have that Apex Predator, so he can push up this lane constantly, get catapults in this lane, and that's going to create a lot of pressure that Air Muradin, they're going to have to respond to. But it looks like they're going to go through the sidewall right away. They get the jump onto the Anubrak. The flip is there from the Diablo. There is no connection from the Lunar Flare. Bird is there. The Root is also there. The Stasis from the Ariel. Phoenix is underneath him, but there is the Unstoppable put onto him. Diablo ends up getting pushed away from the Horrify. Oh my god. That was quite amazing, honestly. That Anubrak should have died. But they're going to go ahead and get this keep, and at the same time, they're actually going to lose the Anubrak too. And the Greymane will be able to get away with like 70 health. And they also will be losing their Dahaka. Actually, he has full essence, so he is able to get away. There's actually a stun onto him. He's going currently by a bunch of his keep. He's trying to pull the Arthas over by him, trying to get some of that damage. Punisher currently on the core. It's not going to be the reason it dies, though. Diablo is charging in. They are starting to whittle this thing down, and Air Muradin looks like they potentially could be taking this game. They are going in on the Gul'dan. They get the kill onto him, and that is going to be GG's. The second game going over to Air Muradin. They'll be taking the series.